Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call our meeting to order. This is our agenda meeting for the Nashville Town Council. Today is Wednesday, October 31, and for the record, it's 7 p.m. We have one item tonight to conduct a public hearing, after which we have closed session on two items. One concerning property and one concerning personnel, but we'll get to that as we go. First item we need to do is go into public hearing. Does the chair hear a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we go into public hearing. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Accordingly, we're in public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public input on the proposed allocation of $10,000 of match to Nash County's Retail and Small Business Incentive Grant Program to Bell's Hardware for Economic Development. And the notice in the paper said, gave some definition on the source of the money, about taking some from the general fund and some from the enterprise fund, which is, once if we decide to do one, we'll decide the source of the money. Okay, as we're now in public hearing, does anyone from the general public have anything to say for or against this issue? Does anyone from the general public have anything to say for or against this issue? And for the third time, does anyone from the general public have anything to say for or against this issue? Anyone from the council have any comments? There being no comments then.
Excuse me, Mayor, I
Yes,
do.
yes.
After the Gateway situation, when Larry went to Gateway to try to utilize some of the monies that we had contributed, and there was pushback on that, what was that all about? Because that was the last thing we ever heard, and the next thing I knew, it was advertised in the paper, and I read it in the paper. And I don't like to find out what we're doing, and who's doing it, and who's making decisions.
I'm not sure what the pushback was on the Gateway money. I thought that was pretty nifty. And I spoke with Robbie Davis, and he was very incensed that we would do this, because they give Gateway a lot more money than we do. And I guess he is of the opinion if we used our money twice, that they would somehow have to make up the difference. But I never heard him amplify that. I'm making an assumption now.
So at our last meeting, that was dropped, and the next thing I know, that in last Thursday's paper, not last, but the week before,
Yeah.
there's a public hearing about, we're gonna contribute $10,000 and 5,000 from the enterprise fund and 5,000 from,
Yeah.
the general fund. And I thought, hey, did anybody think about consulting
Yeah.
the rest of us on the council?
But part of it is this program that we got going with retail and small business with this Stephanie, what's that her name? Help me with her name. Anyway, the program, I thought she was gonna be here tonight. Anyway, that program going, so, it's a matter of whether we want to or not want to, so.
And my question is, how was that derived without asking, hey, were you consulting?
I don't know, let's go back to the source. Who published the notice?
I published the notice.
How were you informed?
Pete told
Pete.
me that
Okay.
we were going to need
Alright.
to have a hearing, and the statute says we have to have 10 days' notice before,
Okay.
I have to
And
advertise.
and you suggested the source of the money?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's completely, and I've given you a memo in your packet tonight for a night's meeting of some other options there you might look at.
Yeah, we got five other
Yeah,
options. Yeah.
state law requires them, but then the county had to do their public hearing as well, and Susan was at our meeting on October the 2nd, and pretty well laid out that night what the county commissioners had decided about the Gateway money. You know, we could not use the Gateway money. They would not accept it as our match.
And when I got with the Gateway at the meeting prior to our last meeting, I approached Chris Eicher,
Yeah, Crystal.
Krista Eicher, and I asked her, I told her about the situation that we had with the Bells project, and asked her could they under this new program, well, not under the new program, but what the Gateway is all there for, with creation of new jobs and stuff like that, would that qualify to come under what they would do to help small businesses or businesses as a whole? and she said she saw no problem with that. She would get with, the leader down there, get with them. And at that time, if my memory serves me correctly, the commissioner, Robert was standing there, and he kind of chimed in on the conversation, and we didn't say specifically that we had to get our money from us or whether we get it from the gateway, but he seemed to be on board with it. So I thought it was gonna be a deal where the gateway was just gonna take care of it, and then the next thing I heard, that Robert had kicked back on it, saying that they would support it because he had met the criterias and everything, but we had to pull money not from the gateway, but from here. And then I talked with Pete about it, and I think then Pete came up with other ways we could fund this if we chose to go that way.
Yeah.
But and I don't know whether we just didn't discuss it enough that night or whether
It wasn't discussed at
morning.
all.
I mean, with him down there.
Right, but what I'm saying is, no one was consulted about how we would fund it. We don't have an incentive program.
Right, we don't.
The only thing we have, we offer land if someone's willing to come and establish a business in our business parks.
Right.
But, you know, so, like I said, when I read this in the paper, and that's the only, information that I've gotten, I think that's, you know, you're blindsiding the council.
Well, I think that's what we're here to discuss tonight.
Right, I think when we talked about it at the last meeting, we had all agreed that it coming from the gateway was something that we were all on board for.
Right.
And we did not all agree on it coming from any of our enterprise fund, general fund, or anything related to that.
Right.
But I guess where the disconnect is, the assumption was made that since the county had said, no, it cannot come from gateway, the only other place the funds would come from are these options. So the presumption was that we then needed to discuss those options. But it did seem, and I think we've worked it out, but it did seem like it was a little bit of a surprise to see it in the paper. Instead of having a discussion, you know, this is going to be on the agenda, just in case anyone asks, we're putting it in the paper for the hearing. But I do understand why the assumption would be there, that we do need to have a public hearing about it and discuss it.
Well, we got internal communication problem, so we'll work on that. Okay.
Well, when you're dealing with taxpayer money, there needs to be more communication.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees.
No doubt about that.
And I have a question for Jeremy. Jeremy, is the project at a standstill right now?
Jeremy, if you come to the microphone, please, so we get your recording.
No, it's not at a standstill right now. We're in transition from land development. Now we're working on everything with building plans, financing, all that for the actual building part.
Okay, so it's ongoing, it's just that there's no activity down there right now? And this all comes from the sewer, line that had to be reconfigured, right?
Yes. Yes. All this is, the only thing this has to do with is the town sewer line. I mean, the total, just the land development has been almost $300,000. The sewer ended up about $56,000.
And you had estimated that it would be less, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, even under the engineer plan, if it had to be moved, which to start with, it didn't have to be. But once they did a wetland survey on there, the way it pushed it up, it did have to be able to get a building on that property.
Right, and my understanding is Jamie gave you a heads up about the sewer.
Well, I mean, no, not Jamie. I mean, we dealt with Stocks Engineering on that.
Right. But I mean,
And they had it in the quote about moving it, but it was only quoted about 30,000.
So they gave you two quotes to move it or not move it?
Well, I mean, if it didn't have to move it, it was just straight land development, so.
but it had to be moved and it ended up costing more like 53,000, is that
About
correct?
56, yeah.
56, okay.
But you
And-
didn't know that until you did the wetland survey.
That's right. Yeah, because until we got the wetland survey, we didn't know if it was gonna have to be moved or not.
Right.
Because, yes, we knew it was on the property, but it was said that you could put parking lot on it. And the way the building was, parking lot would have been straight across it. But the way the wetlands come up, the building was gonna be 140 feet wide. Now we had to shrink it to 120, but make it longer to get the same square footage. So that's where all that change came in.
Further questions? Okay, thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor, I've been very quiet. I'd like to make a few comments. As
Okay.
a former small business owner in Nashville.
Is the microphone picking you up?
I don't know, but if it's not, I'll get a little closer.
Yeah, I can hear,
Oh.
I can hear you now.
You hear better? Good. Okay. But as a small business owner in Nashville, over the years, we've talked about different things, how to generate business, how to get business, how to keep business in Nashville. Even going back 20 years ago, I was hearing complaints from Ronald Braswell at Braswell Milling Company at that time saying, I've asked for a few little things, but nobody seems to want to do anything for me because I'm already here. But yet you will go out and solicit some company to come into town and give them some land or whatever. So I really see nothing wrong with what's going on so far. I have no problem with the town matching this grant to bring in, and I would comment and thank Pete for showing what the taxes are right now versus what taxes will be with this building in operation. I think that it's probably a very good idea to spend a little money on some of the hometown folks. If we're going to spend it out for other people to come, let's help our own people here. If we had to move the sewer line ourselves, we'd have to pay for that. And I see nothing that's been hid from the public. I think everything right here is in print. That's available for all the tax-paying citizens in Nashville to look at and see where the money is and where it's coming from. And also, he's also shown what the taxes are now versus what taxes will be if it's developed.
Right.
So I would just like to say, as a small business owner who was here in this town, that I think it's a fine project. And I think Ms. Hinton's correct. In the past, we've given land, but land is money too. We bought that land and we gave it, so that's money.
Hey, we also spent a lot of money upfitting the Atlantic Food Resources.
Correct.
there.
Another point I'd like to make is, I guess the county was assuming that we have a small, an incentive program for small business, which we don't.
Which we don't.
So
Well,
we have to get money
yes.
wherever we can. And the county represents 95,000 people, and it's very easy for them to give $10,000 when we represent 5,400 people. And that seems to me to be out of sync. If they can give 10,000 representing 95,000 people, and we're 5,400, and we're expected to,
It's customary these things to speak once, but Jeremy's got something else to say.
Okay, well, it's on that. I mean, if you go ahead and finish.
no, I'd finished.
Okay. On this same piece of property, that property has been sitting there for a long time, empty, overgrown, and taxes have not been paid on that property since either 92 or 94. We paid those taxes at time of closing, which was almost $40,000. So, and gonna be changing it into a valuable property.
I
And
don't
also
remember.
it's-
I don't ever remember anything being on that property because I've only been around here about half a century. Charles, you've been here a long time. Is you remember anything being on that piece of
Nothing
land?
been over there but mud holes.
Trees and bushes.
Just a mud hole?
Yeah.
My only concern, and I'm along with Charles Taylor as far as supporting the Bell project, my only concern is that we don't get wrapped into a situation where every Tom, Dick, and Harry expects for us to follow down the same road in supporting them.
Well, we're
And
setting
as
a
long as
precedent.
as long as they go through
The process.
Right.
go through the process, initially going for the county first.
Right.
And qualifying under the county, because as you can see in our handouts here, the county has a tally sheet, for lack of a better term, that you have to meet certain criteria for them to pass. And if we use their tally sheet or follow behind them, once they approve something, and we put a cap on what we do, which we can always change that at a later date if we need to, but make sure everybody goes through the county first, and then we put a cap so everybody won't be coming in here wanting the same thing done. But I support the project 100%. And I think we've done all we can is getting the information from Mr. Bell and the small business staff has done an outstanding job with their little point system in there. But I just don't want us to get into a situation where once bail comes up next year, I got another little something come up. Well, you helped him, why don't you help us? But then I want them to have to go through the same process that he's had to go through.
Well, if this thing really starts to move, like you're talking about, like the county wants it to, we may have to look at budgeting some money for these sorts of things, and have caps, like you said, on how much we can spend per year on it.
Yeah, put a
And
cap
not
on
just
it.
have open check, people come running in getting money.
And
But
like
they
Ms.
gotta go through the criteria and the
Yeah,
process.
and like Ms. Hinton said, I mean, the county can fish out $20,000 and $30,000 a whole lot easier than we can, cause of the number of population.
Yeah, 10,000 for them is.
10,000 for them is nothing.
Now, even with that program, like you said, there was a certain criteria you had to meet. And one of those was a voided amenity in the area. So you can't have another like business doing the same thing. You have to add a certain number of jobs, property improvement, everything. So
And how many jobs did you say this business gonna go to?
we're planning right now about 16,
And you got what at your existing position?
3.
now? You got what?
3.
You got 3, that's right. You got 3 now, and then you're going to 16.
Mhm.
So that's jobs coming to town, so.
I'm gonna go ahead and hand these out to you. 'Cause I was gonna give them to you tonight later on, but this is your home, gives you the criteria, the guidelines that the county had adopted, and it's for towns under 10,000 population in Nash County. The cap on any grant that the county does is 20,000, and it also is a draft of the incentive agreement, that would, be put in place. Now, if the
Right.
county participates, then it's gonna have to, there's one there for, should be one for everybody, Mayor. If the town were to participate, you vote next week, up or down, don't care. I know Jeremy does, but, it's no sweat off of me. But anyway, then it would be a three-party contract, should be a three-party contract between the grantee, the town, and the county. And it has provisions in there that he's got to at least stay in business for 3 years. If it doesn't, there's a payback to the entities that have loaned him the money. That's providing the jobs, and I don't know whether you've seen this document yet.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. But it's in draft form from the county. Susan sent it to me just earlier this week, just Monday, I guess it was. I got it. She couldn't be here tonight, but she will be here on next Tuesday night, and we'll try to answer any question you have. The program was put in place back when she came back in the summer to talk about the program that they were adopting, and they offer it to all the municipalities under 10,000 in the county. So it's there. They have if a project is within your corporate limits, they will bring it to each town and ask whether they want to participate or not. And you say yea or nay.
Having heard all this, the decision was made next Tuesday night.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is just an
Here.
information collecting session. Okay, other comments? Observations?
Just to give my 2 cents on this. Conceptually, I really didn't have a problem with this, but I did have some concerns, which I had addressed with Pete, and I guess I'll just share right now, which he's already gone through, and that was how do we tie into the county's program to make sure that, as Larry said, that we don't just open up the door now to every single business in town coming and saying, give us money, or anyone who wants to start a business in town. Because we just don't have the funds to do that. But at the same time, we do need to incentivize people opening up shop and people staying downtown. So we just need to be careful how we do that. So if we tie into the county's program and we make it so that you have to be approved through the county before it even comes before the council, then we can make our approval subject to that contract that you were just talking about, that the county and the applicant will enter into. So we make our approval subject to our review and approval of that contract to make sure that the town is fully protected, that all town taxes have been paid, which, as you pointed out, you have paid, and to make sure that we see the clawback provisions and we see our position being protected. I think as long as we do those things, I can move forward with working with a program like this. And I think just to give a number amount that people have mentioned up here to the public, Pete had put the tax value, we would be receiving $5,800 per year with the improvement of the property that you're putting on there. So essentially, within 2 years, we will recoup our investment in this. And that's not even to talk about the jobs that you're bringing to town, and the traffic that you're going to be bringing to town. So I think that there are major benefits here.
Plus it'd also be a sales tax.
That's right.
gauge, And also selling water and sewer.
And we're not tied just because the county approves it. We don't have
That's
to
right.
follow suit.
No,
We can still disapprove any
That's
project
right.
that comes before us if we see something that the county just didn't pick up on.
Right.
That it don't fit our plans or whatever, we can still
Yeah.
shut it down.
we
So,
just need to tie in to make sure that they first have to go through the county,
Right.
then they can come to us once it's approved, and then make our decision.
Jeremy, on the jobs, you indicated there are 6 full-time jobs.
16,
Currently, or
what he's going to bring.
What you will bring with this project,
from what we figured, it's gonna be roughly around 16.
16 full-time. Okay.
Now, I mean, not all of those will be full-time,
Okay.
but.
That's what I
uh,
was looking at, 6 full-time. I think that was in the application or something. I saw
No,
some-
that was the county, I think that was the county's requirement.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna be exceeding that. Now, we guess about 16 employees, but, I mean, my guess, 10, 12 of those are gonna be full-time, the rest will be part-time. But I mean, even at part-time, you're probably still gonna be looking 25, 35 hours a week, so.
Jeremy, I know you put in there $1.5 million estimated value, and I was a little more conservative and said just figured it $1 million, that's for the 5,800 per year in taxes at 58 cents per hundred
Mhm.
of city town taxes.
Yeah,
That's,
Have a
I'm
nice,
trying to be more conservative in that estimate
have a
than
nice,
you had your application, not knowing what the tax
yeah.
appraisal will be in the end.
So I guess based on your calculations, we expect a little bit more.
Well,
We
yeah,
can get
and you know,
hopefully more.
I mean, I don't know what it's gonna appraise at, cause that's not
Right.
done yet, but, I mean, construction costs are going over that, so you would think it's gonna appraise over that, so.
okay. Other comments? Okay. There being none, the chair here motion to go out of public hearing.
So maybe.
Second.
Moved and second to go out of public hearing. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Accordingly, we're back in regular session. We're down to our council comment section. Don't forget tomorrow morning it's at 10 o'clock or 11?
10.
10. We'll have a ribbon cutting around it, Active Action,
Active fitness.
Action Fitness, right around the corner here. So, everybody plan to be there. I won't be there. The Charles is gonna cut the ribbon for me. I'll be indisposed all day tomorrow. Okay. Let's see, that's about it. Okay, Mr. Taylor, comments?
No comments tonight, Mayor.
Charles?
No comment.
That's it?
Now, Jeremy, thank you for explaining things to us tonight. I appreciate that.
No comments.
Okay, okay, good. That being done, the chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So maybe.
Second.
It's been moved and second, we go into closed session. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Accordingly, we're in closed session, and we'll be back in just a few minutes, and we'll see what we've got. Okay, let's roll.